because Saturday night, lots of news was made at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is normally a fun night for correspondents and for politicians to make fun of themselves, for the media to make fun of themselves, for a comedian to get up and sort of point out the absurdity of some of the things these politicians do all year long. President Obama was fantastic. Frank, bring me up here because I got President Obama was great with all of his jokes. I mean, he was hitting on all cylinders, like starting off with this one.
If this material works well, I'm going to use it at Goldman Sachs next year.
How about when he praised his vice president?
I want to thank him for his friendship, for his counsel, for always giving it to me straight, for not shooting anybody in the face.
President Obama even made some racially funny jokes. Remember the story about Bill de Blasio and Hillary Clinton and their CPT, their colored people time joke that didn't go over? President Obama made it funny.
I was running on CPT. Which stands for jokes that white people should not make.
We'll come back to that in a moment. How about him making fun of himself and Bernie Sanders?
I am hurt, though, Bernie, that you've been distancing yourself a little from me. I mean, that's just not something that you do to your comrade.
There was more meat on the bone when it came to Bernie Sanders. Who was there?
Bernie, you look like $1 million. Or to put it in terms you'll understand, you look like 37,000 donations of $27 each.
Ted Cruz had a tough week. He was in Indiana, and he called the basketball hoop a ring. President Obama continued the joke.
What else is in his lexicon? Baseball sticks? Football hats? But sure, I'm the foreign one.
President Obama ended it the best way he could.
Obama out.
He dropped the mic and walked away. He was great. Across the board, left, right, center, liberal, conservative, everybody thought he did a great job. He was funny. And if that's your cup of tea, he was great. Now, let's go back to this for a second. Remember this comment going forward.
I was running on CPT. Which stands for jokes that white people should not make.
Remember that, because Larry Wilmore, who now hosts the Stephen Colbert slot on Comedy Central, stood up and told a bunch of jokes. Now, look, that's got to be one of the hardest rooms to work because it's got to be new material. You really can't work it out on the road and then bring it in for an HBO special. It's got to be all new material. You're following the president who's, right, just killed it. And so it's a very, very difficult room. You've got to make fun of the media and yet not make fun of the media. You have to make fun of the president and a whole bunch of people who are sensitive. So Larry Wilmore, forget the fact that some of his jokes worked, some of his jokes didn't work. What is causing the most trouble is how Larry Wilmore ended his comments. Now, before I play this clip, Larry Wilmore, who's from, I want to say Evanston, Indiana, or Evansville, Illinois. I think he's from Evansville, Illinois. Tells a story. He says, "Mr. President, it's such an honor to be here. I grew up at a time when black people," Larry Wilmore is also African American, I was born growing up where black people weren't thought that they could be quarterbacks. And now we have a black man who's president of the United States. So in this very touching moment, Larry Wilmore, sort of shows his compassion and says, boy, this is a great honor for, quote unquote, our people in a sense, right? Our minority, I am so honored that I could live at a time where I can see somebody who looks like me in the Oval Office. Now, that's not exactly what he said, but that was sort of his whole premise when he was talking about the black quarterback, and now we have you as commander-in-chief. And then he says this.
So, Mr. President, if I'm going to keep it 100, yo, Barry, you did it, my nigga. Did it.
I was speechless. I couldn't believe it. I find that so over the line, so offensive, and so crass. He's the president of the United States of America, and you just called him your nigga. Is that right? Jokes white people can't tell? How about jokes nobody? That's not a joke. I'm sorry. As a white person, that word not only is offensive, but it makes all of our skins crawl every single time you hear it. I understand the argument. Yes, you can't tell me I can't say that word. Fine. Okay. You want to sing it in a song? You want to talk about it to your buddy on the side? Even if Larry Wilmore went off to the Oval Office and in a moment where the two of them had a private moment together, and he's like, "Boy, I just got to tell you, hey, President, Mr. Obama, hey, you might, okay, fine. I get it. I understand it. It's a code word. It's a symbolism. It's a keeping it real comment. I get all of that. But you know what? There's a reason why it's called locker room talk, because you don't do it on the grandest stage of them all. There's a reason why it's slang. There's a reason why you don't talk about those things in the reason why there hasn't been a news outlet that has played that clip that I have seen since it aired. That's how offensive it is. And yet, a comedian in his moment of praising President Obama for all that he means for him and his people of color, he uses a word that is so toxic, you can't even repeat it without being afraid of somebody coming down on you. I'm sorry, it was offensive and it was inappropriate. President Obama, nothing he could do except smile and shake the guy's hand. But I'm not even going to begin to even think what President Obama thought. But the man who it was said to, you can't do anything except sort of smile and sort of walk away. But I'm sorry, Larry Wilmore. I get comedians being offensive. I get them pushing the envelope. I get them being provocative. I get them being irreverent. I understand all of that. It was still completely inappropriate. And he should be called out for it. He should be called out for it. I understand it's words, and words don't mean what they do. And I'm not saying that, black people can't use that word. I get that a white comedian couldn't do it. But it's the president of the United States. And the reason why he feels so respectful and so proud of the man in the office, it's because he is the president of the United States. And you soiled it by making that comment. I'll shut up. We'll take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll hear from some listeners, because that's my 2 cents. 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS.